They told you to chase, to beg, to explain yourself until you're exhausted. But what if I told you that every time you do that, you lose a piece of your power? The real strength isn't in proving your worth. It's in knowing it. Never chase, never beg, never explain. Let your silence do what words never could. In a noisy world where everyone's shouting to be seen, the Stoic stays quiet, and that silence speaks louder than any defense. Marcus Aurelius didn't plead for understanding. He didn't explain his philosophy. He embodied it. And today, you'll learn why the quietest man in the room is often the strongest. The ancient Stoics didn't waste words. They mastered them. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he wrote in private, not to convince the world, but to remind himself of one truth. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Epictetus echoed it. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. They understood that silence wasn't emptiness. It was presence. It was power. Not reacting didn't mean weakness. It meant control. In a world that rewards noise, they chose discipline. And today, that ancient wisdom is your path back to strength. Because when you stop chasing, stop begging, and stop explaining, you stop bleeding power, and you begin to rise. 1. Silence makes them feel your absence, not just hear your words. The world expects you to react, to argue, to explain. But the moment you go quiet, everything shifts. People don't expect silence. They expect you to chase, to defend, to plead. And when you don't, that silence becomes louder than any message you could send. Think about the last time someone disrespected you or walked away without reason. Your instincts screamed, "Say something, fight back." But the more you talk, the less they listen. The more you chase, the faster they run. The more you explain, the more invisible you become. But when you go silent, truly silent, they feel it. Not just in their ears, but in their gut. They feel the void you leave behind. That's the paradox. Your absence becomes your presence. Your silence becomes your mirror. It reflects their actions back to them and says, "I saw what you did. I just won't dignify it with words." You don't need to prove your worth. If they cared, they'd ask. If they respected you, they'd reach out. If they truly valued you, they wouldn't need paragraphs to recognize your value. Your silence says everything. 2. When you stay silent, you hear the truth louder. In the chaos of heartbreak, rejection, or betrayal, the instinct is to talk, to vent, to call, to explain. But the Stoic doesn't chase noise. He retreats into silence. Not because he's numb, but because he knows that answers don't come from others. They come from within. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." When you go silent, you disconnect from the storm outside and start hearing what truly matters. Your own inner voice. That voice doesn't shout. It whispers truths like, "They never respected me. I just didn't want to see it. I stayed too long hoping they'd change. I don't need closure. I need peace." These aren't words others can give you. They rise in the quiet when you stop begging for answers and start listening to your own clarity. Silence creates space. And in that space, your values rise above your emotions. Your dignity speaks louder than your pain. That's why Stoics paused before reacting. They chose stillness over noise, not because they lacked emotion, but because they had control. 3. Begging for closure is a form of self-betrayal. We all want closure. That final message, that clear explanation, that moment that makes the pain make sense. But here's the truth. If someone truly valued you, you wouldn't have to beg for closure. They would offer it with honesty. And if they don't, your silence is the closure. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." That includes how you handle heartbreak. You don't need to plead for understanding. You don't need to send another message hoping they'll finally get it. Because chasing clarity from someone who broke you is giving them power over your healing. Here's how the cycle works. They hurt you. You ask for answers. They avoid, deflect, or stay silent. You feel worse. And the cycle repeats until you break it. Until you realize that real closure doesn't come from their words. It comes from your decision to walk away without needing them to validate your pain. It's tempting to think one more conversation will fix it. But if they cared, you wouldn't be chasing. And if they don't, your silence says what they refuse to hear. I'm done. Not in anger, but in self-respect. 4. Silence exposes what words try to hide. Words can lie. They can dress up intentions, cover up truth, manipulate emotions. But silence? Silence reveals. When you stop explaining, when you stop justifying, you allow people to show you who they really are. And they will. Someone who respects you will notice your absence. Someone who used you will disappear. Someone who tried to control you will grow angry, not because you wronged them, but because they lost access to your energy. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say." Stoics knew this long before. They didn't trust apologies, they trusted patterns. And patterns don't need words, they just need time and space. Silence provides both. Go quiet, and you'll see everything more clearly. Who checks in when you stop giving? Who shows up when you're no longer convenient? Who respects your distance instead of demanding your return? That's your answer. It might hurt, but it's honest. And honest pain is better than comfortable illusion. Let your silence uncover what their words tried to hide. 5. Not explaining yourself is the highest form of confidence. It hurts to be misunderstood. You want to speak up, clear your name, defend your intentions. But when you explain yourself to someone who's already judged you, you're not seeking clarity. You're seeking permission to be seen. And that's not confidence. That's fear in disguise. Marcus Aurelius warned us not to waste our lives worrying about the opinions of others. When you try to prove your worth to someone who doesn't value you, you trade peace for performance. True confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to be validated, translated, or explained. The Stoic doesn't walk away in silence because he's cold. He walks away because he knows his worth. He knows that real connection doesn't require convincing. He knows that those who truly see you won't need subtitles. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means alignment. It says, I don't need to fit into your version of me. I'm done proving. I'm done performing. I'm choosing peace over perception. And that kind of confidence can't be shaken. It can only be respected or feared. 6. Your detachment in silence is what teaches them the lesson walking away without drama, without one last emotional message. That's power. It confuses people. It unsettles them because they expect a reaction. They expect you to plead, to fight, to come back. But when you don't, that's when the lesson begins. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And it's true, especially for the ones left behind. When you go silent, they're left with their own thoughts, their guilt, their confusion. Your absence becomes a mirror. It forces them to face what they did, without you softening the blow. You don't say, "I'm done." You just are. And in that silence, you reclaim your dignity. You stop bleeding for people who never intended to heal you. You stop asking to be seen by those who were always blind to your value. They may never admit it, but your silence will echo longer than any words. It will speak a language they can't ignore, not because you wanted revenge, but because you chose self-respect over attention, peace over chaos, power over performance. This is the kind of silence that doesn't just end a chapter, it closes the whole book. If you've made it this far, you already feel it. Something inside you is shifting, a quiet strength awakening, a reminder you didn't know you needed. You don't have to chase, beg, or explain to prove your worth. You don't have to lose yourself just to be understood by someone else. The Stoics knew that silence isn't weakness, it's control. It's choosing not to waste your energy on what's beneath your values. It's knowing that your presence is powerful, even when it's gone. Yes, there will be moments when your emotions scream for attention, for justice, for a final word. But in those moments, remember this: your silence may not win the argument, but it will win yourself back. Every time you walk away with your dignity, you build self-worth. Every time you stay quiet when you could have begged, you grow stronger. Let your silence be your final word. Not out of pride, not out of revenge, but out of deep, unshakable self-respect. If this message resonated with you, like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and drop this final affirmation in the comments. My silence is my last word, and my most powerful one.